thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Niner Faithful Radio. And we might want to remind everybody to go to twitch.tv/Niner Faithful Radio to join us for all live streams of all our shows. Also, for the Faithful by the Faithful pre-launch sales coming July 30th, you can save 20% off of all our designs. Go to ninerfaithfulradio.com/shop for more deals. With everything opening back up, we'd like to remind everybody to go to SeatGiant.com and use the promo code NinerFaithfulRadio to save on all your concert, theater, and sporting event tickets. That website again is SeatGiant.com, and the promo code is NinerFaithfulRadio. Get your officially licensed Niner gear from shop49ers.com by using our affiliate link. It costs you no more, and it really helps out the show. The link will be available in the description of our podcast and YouTube episodes. Go to NinerFaithfulRadio.com to check out all our interviews, blogs, and previous episodes of all our shows. Dylan just did an excellent offensive line breakdown yesterday, so you can check that out at NinerFaithfulRadio.com. Make sure to follow us on social media. On Facebook and Instagram, we're at Niner Faithful Radio, and on Twitter, we're at Niner Faithful R. With that being said, let's get this show on the road.
Steps up, throws.
All right, we're back. We're back. Let's go ahead and bring on the man with the master plan. What's cracking, Jason? How you doing?
What is up, my man? Another day out here.
You know, another day, another dollar. Like the little training camp bucket hat. We're gonna have to see if we can get those for FFBF. But okay, so we got to start off today with some pretty crappy news. Honestly, made me and Jason crumple up our notes basically. Justin School went and tore his ACL. I believe it was yesterday. Definitely sucks. I mean, I'm not going to sit there and throw my computer and say, oh, God, the season's over because Justin School, is going to miss the season. But, he came in last year and played some games. And, it's one of those situations that obviously if Justin School is starting the majority of your games at either tackle position, you're in trouble. But, in a spot start wasn't that bad. And I remember his first start against the Yams, he did damn well in 2019. And so he kind of took some steps back. And against that Whackers, against the Smith brothers in 2019 as well. And so he's played some good football. And at the end of the day, sometimes, if you're down to your backup or third string tackle, sometimes it's just simply about wanting to plug in somebody that has experience. And that's definitely something that Justin School had. And then obviously the news that I feel affects the Niners the most is the loss of Travarius Moore, who tore his Achilles and will miss the 2021 season. I mean, this is a big blow. Obviously, my money's on Jaquiski Tartt. My money's on Jaquiski Tartt to start, but let's not pretend that some of us had high hopes for T. Moore, and adding his experience and more reps, and he was something that I remember Adam and I used to talk all the time about, somebody that eventually could come in and start for Jimmy Ward or Jaquiski Tartt, as a replacement. Yeah. And so, Jason, any thoughts on those injuries?
Skill, like you said, for the most part, they're not going to be damning completely, except for the most, like with School going down, you are losing one of your better backups. Like with the way things go, especially the last few years, you always want to have veteran, experienced backups, and School was that. He didn't play all that often, but when he did play, he got in and he showed up. At times it showed that he wasn't starter quality per se in the NFL, but he he would get you through until those other guys. And with Moore, everybody wanted to see more out of him, and now we're going to see less of him. And I actually see Moore as the least issue, because now some of the younger guys that we got back there are going to be able to play. We've got a ton of guys on both ends, both positions, that are now going to move up on the roster spots to fill them roles. And looks like TJ went away. So yeah, I guess we'll just keep going with this. Yeah. So both guys have, both guys are going to.
Y'all, yeah, sorry. I accidentally hit the refresh button. Rookie mistake. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to keep going with that. Like I said, both guys, they're backups. They are losses because you always need quality backups in the league. But we also have young players at both of those positions who are going to now have to step up their game, that were drafted to eventually be the starters. So, now it's, it's going to be, the timetable is going to be pushed up a little bit more now.
Yeah, so I agree with you. Obviously, this means, and as a corresponding move, we announced Monday that we signed Tony Jefferson to a 1-year deal to make room on the roster.
Doesn't that make that deal makes all the sense in the world now that we didn't see that yesterday? It was like, why do we need our 19th safety on this team?
Yeah, exactly. It's almost like they kind of know what they're doing over the front office kind of knows what they're doing. So he was originally entered the NFL with the Arizona Cardinals as an undrafted free agent on April 29th of 2013 throughout a 7-year career in which he played with Arizona through 2013 through 2016, Baltimore through 2017 to 2019. He's appeared in 98 games with 66 starts, registered 434 tackles, 22 pass defense, 8.5 sacks, 8 forced fumbles, 4 fumble recoveries, 4 interceptions with 1 return for a touchdown. He has also started 4 postseason contests and added 34 tackles with 2 pass defense. He was signed yesterday, I believe it was. So obviously has some experience. I don't think he's gonna, come in and demand, Pro Bowl nod and all that. But if Jaquiski Tartt goes down, which let's be real, he's known to do so.
Hey man,
Jimmy Ward.
Hey man, Ward.
Yeah, and Jimmy Ward seems to always get all the hate and all the and rightfully so. Look, we know how Jimmy Ward's beginning of his career went. But Jaquiski Tartt never seemed to get as much hate. And if I'm not mistaken, I'll have it by the time we do the safety breakdown here in a couple weeks. But I believe that it's only a handful of games less that Jaquiski Tartt's missed than Jimmy Ward. And so, obviously, adding some veteran experience as, at very least a camp body, if not somebody that can push for a roster spot, I'm not mad at all, especially with the news this morning breaking of Tarvarius Moore tearing his Achilles.
I like it. I've actually heard his name pushed out in a lot of other outlets about a possible signing for quite a few months. So, I mean, once we heard about Moore going down, before, it was like, why are we signing this guy? We already have, but it makes sense. But it wasn't necessarily a huge shock, considering I've seen it and read it in quite a few different places the last few months.
Yeah, no, it wasn't a shock and everything like that. Almost kind of like, for anybody who's listened to, pretty much a couple of our post-draft episodes, I wasn't too keen on taking a running back in the 3rd round. Then all of a sudden we have Jeffrey Wilson Jr., standing up and touring his MCL. Maybe they knew what they were doing when they took 2 running backs in the draft. So, and let your hand we trust, right?
Oh.
Now to the biggest non-Niner news. Well, we signed MyCole Pruitt to a 1-year deal. Pruitt was originally drafted by the Vikings in the 5th round, 143rd overall of the 2015 draft. Throughout a 6-year career with the Vikings and Chicago Bears, Houston Texans, and Tennessee Titans, he appeared in 63 games with 18 starts, rated to 32 receptions for 343 yards and 4 touchdowns. He saw action in 5 postseason contests, 2 starts, and added 6 receptions for 50 yards. In 2020, with the Titans, he appeared in 11 games with 4 starts, now has 5 receptions for 49 yards and 2 touchdowns. Jason and I were talking about this in our pre-show meeting, and like I said, I don't think he's gonna push Kittle for playing time, but in a situation, how he was described to me was he's gonna be a blocking tight end. But if you are so focused on Kittle and Ayuk and Debo and Raheem out the backfield and Trey Lance running the ball and all this, that if you leave him open, he can. It would not surprise me if he had a big game this year. He had a game for 7 catches for 70 yards and 2 touchdowns, and you're all of a sudden like, where did this Pruitt dude come from? He's an NFL tight end. And so, on to what was pretty much the biggest news coming out of the weekend. Julio Jones got traded. Unfortunately, it wasn't to us. It was to Tennessee. But fortunately, it wasn't in the team of the division either, which was, I ain't gonna lie, my butt cheeks were kind of tight over the weekend, thinking that there might be a miracle coming to that city in the Pacific Northwest or to LA. But he got traded to the Tennessee Titans for a 2nd-round pick and 4th-round pick, and then Atlanta sends Julio Jones and a 6th-round pick. I tip my cap. I think that Tennessee got a fair deal. I don't want to say that Tennessee got the upper hand. I don't want to say that Atlanta got the upper hand. I think that it was a fair exchange. If I was Tennessee, I wouldn't have gave up this. If I was Atlanta, I wouldn't have gave up the 6th-rounder. But hey, whatever. You go ahead and you throw in a 6th-rounder, so they'll take all his salary or whatever type of cap manipulation scenarios can happen. But Tennessee's offense definitely got better, and I don't think that they got robbed. And yeah, Jason, your thoughts?
No, their offense definitely got better. So I saw some people trying to downplay it, mostly because they don't think Derrick Henry is going to last. I'm like, have you seen Derrick Henry? The dude's a beast. So, I mean, they definitely got better with that offense because, I mean, without anybody on the other side of A.J. Brown, they really didn't have anybody else to throw to for the most part. So he was going to get triple covered constantly. So that definitely is going to open up their offense quite a bit, both for A.J. Brown and for Derrick Henry. The other thing, exactly. We're going to see Julio later this year. What is it, December 23rd? When we go to Tennessee, we're going to see him. So that's my thing. If it was straight up for a 2nd, the reason why is probably because I'm going to assume nobody else wanted to give up anything more than a 2nd for him, especially in the NFC. Because if it was in the NFC, you're probably looking at a 2nd and probably a 3rd to get him, to stay within the conference. But obviously, going out of conference is not going to take as much. So, like I said, overall, it's a good trade. Probably more than what the Niners are willing to give up, unless it was just a 2nd. But since they were asking for more, like, no, we don't have a ton of capital over the next few years right now. So,
yeah, it's December 23rd on Thursday night that we will go ahead and see Julio. And I mean, look, I agree with you. I mean, you got A.J. Brown and you got Julio Jones. I would definitely take that as a Niner receiving core.
That's arguably that's a top 5 receiving core in the league right now.
I would say obviously Kansas City is the threat out of the AFC. I think they would be the favorites. They would be who I would put my money down on. But
Bills,
I don't think it's going to be a walk in the park for them. And I say with the Bills, we'll see how it is. 1 year is a fluke, 2 years is consistency. So let's see them do it. And I believe it. Look, I'm not a Bills hater. I'm a Josh Allen believer. I watched it with my own eyes. That was legit Niner defense. Obviously not 2019 level, but that was a legit Niner defense that he made look awfully pedestrian in Arizona last year. So
if I was to ever jump ship to any team, it would be to the Bills Mafia. Have you seen how them people are acting? Like I would,
You know,
that would be legit the only team I would actually think about jumping to if I had to make a choice like that.
yeah, no, definitely. Look, everybody knows, it's Niners all day, N4L, all that. Ain't no party like a Niner party. But generally, I respect fans. I respect real fans. I respect fans who love their team. I respect fans who are, it's football day on Sunday and it's a holiday like National Tight
Yep.
End Day, and the Bills definitely hold it down. Say whatever you want about the team, about the organization. Hey, look, people from Buffalo, like I couldn't control growing up in San Jose, California. My mother couldn't control growing up in Detroit, Michigan. They can't control growing up in Buffalo, New York. You can't. Sometimes you can't control who your football team is, or how little Super Bowls they won or whatever like that. But as far as putting it down for their team, I would put them up with any fan base up there in the NFL, and
they are
definitely they are. And I salute them. Now come to Empire Row with that. We'll show you how a party gets down, but definitely, and of course, I mean, let's be real. Any team that lives in, and let's be real. I mean, in November, December, January, it's 3, 4, 5,
2 degrees
6,
outside.
7 feet of snow. Exactly. So we got to give them their props for holding it down at tailgates right in the middle of a blizzard.
Half naked, jumping off shit all the time.
I can't complain as it's 65, 70, 50 degrees, in December in Santa Clara, and we got a little bit of rain, and they're in the blizzard of the year, in parkas, and all of a sudden Siberian tigers are rolling
half
around.
naked, man.
Being from family who's from the Midwest, having a lot of family from the Midwest and everything like that, I remember my grandpa always used to say everybody wants a white Christmas until it's 6 a.m. and you're shoveling, it's 6 a.m. and you're shoveling out snow in front of your drive yard. But those Midwest, East Coast, football fans, I believe they're a different type of breed. We all seen, I knew some people that went out to Lambeau out in 2018, and they came back and they said, honestly, bro, like I've been cold. Because I mean, and obviously, look, I'm from California, so cold is a relative term. But if you think it's 80 degrees and palm trees every day out here, you're smoking rocks. Mark Twain did say the coldest winter he ever spent was the summer in San Francisco. So it'll get cold. If you're walking out thinking it's 80 degrees and palm trees all the time, you're going to be cold. Yeah. But he said when they went out to Green Bay, he said, bro, that's a different level of cold. He was like,
you feel it in your bones.
He was like, I've never been so cold to my core. Like just my insides were frozen. And he's like, I've never felt cold like that in my life. And he goes, to have people out there, bare chest, and I mean, those are a different breed of people.
Not me.
I definitely salute y'all. Yeah, you ain't seen my black ass do all that. I put it down for the red and gold, but you ain't see my black ass do nothing crazy like that.
But I'm gonna keep my jacket on.
Oh yeah, hey, I would love, on my bucket list, I do have going to watch a Niner game at every NFL stadium.
Yeah,
that is on my bucket list. I would love to go to Lambeau Field. I would love to go to, Chicago. I would love to go to, I obviously don't play anymore, but the Vet or Giants say, yeah, I would love to go to all those places, but you're not seeing me there bare chest. And, I'll leave the sleeveless in Green Bay to Colin Kaepernick, and I'll leave that to them. But, so yeah, moving on from the Julio, I mean, congratulations, Tennessee. You got a hell of a player. I would have took that deal if they would have. I agree with you, Jason. I think we would have had to make it 2 2s or 2 3s to get him to trade into the NFC. Yeah. Maybe we would have been able to negotiate a 5th back. But I'm sorry, I'm not for the next for 2022 and 2023. I'm not having my first pick be the 3rd round. I'm sorry. As much as we know, we're pretty secure that Bam Bam's going to get his contract extension. We're pretty secure that Nick Bosa will get his franchise. The players that the Niners want to keep, we'll figure out a way to keep, especially with Trey Lance being on his rookie deal. But with the decisions that are going to have to be made, coming up here pretty quick, I'm sorry, I can't give up that much cheap draft capital for a 32-year-old receiver. That, let's be real, how long could we get out? I don't see Julio playing all 3 years of those deals. Maybe he finishes his third year, but if I traded for Julio Jones, I would have expected it to be at least 2 years, if that. And so I'm sorry, I'm not giving up that much capital.
I guarantee the 2.
3 years. Yeah, I would have done. I would have done the 2. I might have even done the 4th with a conditional 3rd if he played, 13 games. But I'm not giving up a guaranteed 3rd or 2 2s now. Yeah, I'm not doing all that. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get into offensive line. I think the biggest free agent addition, not getting into re-signing our players, was Alex Mack. I mean, the man's only missed 13 games in his career, 11 in 2014 and 2 last season. He was drafted by Cleveland in the first round, 21st overall of the 2019 draft. He's a 3-time Associated Press second-team All-Pro and a 6-time Pro Bowl selection. And he started 179 career games, which he appeared in, and 5 postseason contests. So, I mean, it's pretty clear that obviously Trent Williams, gets the number 1 most important free agent signing. But to me, Alex Mack is huge. We went from a center, which when he was on the field, Richburg was a good center. But let's be real, he was hardly on the field. And so, but he was hard. The problem, i.e. like Jimmy Garoppolo, the problem with him wasn't necessarily play. It was health. And so I think what gets me fired up about Linchenhan so much is they see a problem and they fix it. They saw the ability to get on with Western Richburg with him retiring, and they said, okay, we have a problem with a center who didn't play enough games. Well, let's go get a center that's literally, missed 2 games minus 1 season. Minus 1 season that happened 6 years ago. He hasn't missed a game. And so, of course, obviously there were ailments he was dealing with. And I'm not going to say he was 100% healthy for every single one of those games. But the fact that we have a center that's on the field, even if it is at 80%, I'll take that. I'll take an 80% Alex Mack over a 0-sum game with Western Richburg. Jason, your thoughts?
Probably one of the bigger pickups, even more than Trent, like you said, just simply because one of the biggest problems with the offensive line last year was that there was no cohesion in general because of the injuries and everything like that.
Yeah.
But going back with with Glinchey and whoever was playing guard at that time next to him, there just seemed to be so much lack of communication in general for what was going on. Mack, knowing that position, the Shanahan offense, he's played in it in a couple of different teams and times. He knows his offense. He's very experienced. He knows what he's doing and stuff like that. He's going to help shore it up, at least for the communication part. Say, hey, you know what? You slide this way on this, you go this way, you do this on this block. And, so that's more than anything else. Yes, he's older. To be honest, we probably got 2-3 years out of him. But that also gives us time, within the next, probably next draft. I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't draft somebody to be the heir apparent. Because was he 36, 37 right now? So we've got to – he obviously is, if he makes it to 40, that'd be utterly amazing. I mean, we've seen other linemen make it close to 40, so it's not, it's not as crazy as like Tom Brady playing until he's 42 right now or whatever it is. But, like I said, get somebody behind him. Same thing like, with some of the stuff I put in with Lakin, we got guys who are going to have to step up in the next few years, and finding somebody to replace Mack within the next 2-3 years is going to be on the list as well. We just got to get it solidified and then let them go. That's all we need.
In hindsight, I mean, what was it? Our sixth center that we were on, and we all respect Daniel Brunskill. Tip our caps to him, and we will get hit to him in a few minutes, and I will pose the question that I think is an important question. But you had him learning the position while learning how to be a center, while learning the
Planning on
calls of the
playing, yeah.
offensive line. And it was just it was, in hindsight, it was too much. And that was putting Daniel Brunskill in a position, and you know what, he played outstanding considering.
He
I
wasn't
remember
bad
at
for
some
what it
point
was.
and I remember Kyle Shanahan at some point said, if you would have told me we'd been on our sixth center, he goes, I would have looked at you crazy, because six string centers don't exist. Like, you don't have a six string center. And so, I think that, like you said, it solidifies it for now. And fine, if you want to tell me that in 3 years Daniel Brunskill could be the future center, okay, fine. And he's got 2-3 years to learn it from Alex Mack, and awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
We have it. We have the center position locked down for now, and then a plan for the future, or hey, we'll deal with it next year. That's fine. And I think that going back, piggybacking off of one of the things that you said, I fully agree with you that not only was center an issue last year, but we forget that it was an issue in 2019 with Western Richburg went down. And the interior of the offensive line, mind you, that was mostly Mike Person, but the interior of the offensive line essentially cost us a championship. As far as offensively on the offense side of the ball, I do believe that overall the Super Bowl loss lies on the defense. Don't give up 21 unanswered points. But
It's true.
I'm not going to fully put the blame on the defense and sit here and say, the offense played magnificently. No, the interior of the offensive. I mean, Chris Jones essentially made the interior of the offensive line look ridiculous. And essentially is what was one of the biggest factors, besides giving up 21 straight unanswered points, into us losing the Super Bowl. And so if you said that, hey, 2021 is a Super Bowl or bust year, I hate anybody. I get frustrated when people who say it's not. I'm sorry, you're not re-signing Jaworski Tartt. You're not re-signing all these players. All these players that came here on one-year deals aren't re-signing here for a rebuilding. Hey, let's bring along a rookie quarterback year. They're here to compete for a championship. And so, Dylan says, "Nice hat, Jason." But so to me, if you said, okay, you pretty much brought back the core of the 2019 team, what were the biggest weaknesses of the 2019 team? I would say interior offensive line. Have we made the interior offensive line better? Yeah, I would say the drafting of Aaron Banks, the drafting of Jalen Moore, and the signing of Alex Mack did make the interior of the offensive line better. So to me, while we will admit that the defensive line isn't quite at 2019 level, the offensive line has improved since 2019, which is one of the reasons why I believe we're a championship caliber team. Speaking of Aaron Banks, moving on to him was now this is to me what when you speak to issues that we had at the guard position was he appeared in 38 games, 31 straight starts in 4 years at Notre Dame as a senior. He started all 12 games, including an appearance in this college football playoff semifinal. Named first team AFCA All-American and Associated Press first team All-American as a senior. Started all 13 games as a junior in 2019 to help the Irish rank 13 in the nation in scoring, and played in all 13 games with 6 starts as a sophomore in 2018, but did not see any action as a freshman in 2017. I mean, to me, the 31 straight starts, it screams to me, hey, we want players that are available. We won't take the best guard and find he's going to be a Hall of Famer, but you know what? We want somebody that at least is going to be out there. That we know what we're going to get with, and it's going to be there. And I'm okay with getting the 12th ranked guard if I know he's going to be there every start, than having the number one guard that it's going to be a dice roll every week on whether he's going to play or not.
Yep.
And so I think I'm assuming starter, and this we'll break in Daniel Brunskill, but we'll kind of transition to that by asking this question. Jason and Jamie and Dylan, if you want to go ahead and leave your answers in the comments. Do you believe the Niners offensive line is better with Daniel Brunskill coming off the bench?
Yes. Not
I
necessarily
do too.
because of the talent level of Banks compared to Brunskill, but you
Yeah.
want somebody back there who can fill pretty much any position. And when I
Mm-hmm.
was writing up my stuff for all these guys, that's one thing I put, that as much as I think that the job right now is Brunskill's, and I do think Banks is going to win it, but he needs to actually
Yeah.
take it. I think the
Of
overall
course. Of
line
course.
is better when Brunskill is your main backup for everything. I mean, like you said, is he going to be the greatest of all time at any position? No. But what he is going to do is going to give you one hell of a backup that can fill any hole that might come up.
Yes.
Trent goes down, Brunskill. Jones goes down, Brunskill. This. So I mean, overall, I think he fits better as the backup rather than the starter. And like I said, it has absolutely
Yeah.
nothing to do with talent.
No, and look, if Daniel Brunskill is our starting right guard, you could do well worse. But I agree with everything that you say. Is that I would rather have Daniel Brunskill and saying, "Hey, you're fine. You're not getting out there. You're not risking injury because you're our number one backup at guard." I would have put
Yeah.
him our top backup at tackle. Oh, you know
No.
what? Maybe with the injury of Justin School, he
He
very
might
well
just be,
might
though.
be. He might be with the injury
I
to
mean, who would you
Justin School.
want,
I
him
would
or
like to
McKivitz?
see
I'd take
or
Brunskill right now.
well at tackle. At guard I'll take Brunskill, but at tackle I'll take. I'm curious to see what happens with Sean Coleman, but we'll get to him a
I'd
little
still
bit
take
later.
Brunskill.
But I say that what you would hope that Aaron Banks, being a second overall pick, number 48th overall, would be able to beat out a AFF, undrafted player. I mean, let's be real here. Aaron Banks is the second overall, second round pick. So I would hope that
Yeah.
he would be able to beat out Daniel Brunskill in a competition. And B, yeah, I fully agree with you that I do believe he is better coming off the bench because he is a backup that can go to any position in a pinch. Ideally, I would say that he would make a better tackle or guard, but in a pinch, he could play some center. And so,
Yeah.
with Daniel Brunskill, to me, since coming to the Niners in 2019, he's played in 30 games and made 27 starts. And so to me, what he gives you is he gives you experience. And so he says, "Hey, Aaron Banks, you're going to go out there because of your draft pedigree and because, let's be real, you're probably a more talented player. But as far as a backup,
Well, as far as a backup, I guess TJ was saying, he's probably not the worst one to have because I would probably say he's better than probably at least half of the people in the NFL for at least their starters. Like looking at Seattle starters right now, and I know everybody hates the Seahawks, but how you doing, Spontaneous?
sorry about that, y'all. The cat's went
Seattle, but
the cat's not.
he'd be the top probably guard up here in Seattle. Sorry, I was going on while you were getting your stuff together.
Yeah, sports.
Okay.
Okay, this is 49ers
Gotcha.
media. FYI. Hey, what's cracking, bro? How you doing? Actually, you know what? Get on me at Instagram, bro. I have a proposition for you. But what's up, bro? Glad you joined in the Twitch stream now. But yeah, I could be a starter at guard, and walk in as the starter at guard. So with
like I said,
where
what I
would
was
we
saying,
be
he
without
could
Daniel
walk in
Brunskill?
here in Seattle and be the starter. I wouldn't doubt
Yeah.
it.
Oh yeah.
He could easily take
I
probably
would,
everybody but Johnson's job here. I would think.
yeah. Look, I believe that if the Niners didn't re-sign him, I believe you. I believe he's on a plane up to the Pacific Northwest.
I believe
Or
he's a
definitely
starter
within
somewhere in
the
the league in
division.
general.
Most definitely. And so, it's Daniel Brunskill. I think that he is somebody that he's an unsung glue. I
Yeah.
fully believe that, John Benton, I believe, was our O-line coach the Super Bowl year, and he said he was the MVP. He said he straight up said at the Super Bowl media coverage, we're not in the Super Bowl right now without Daniel Brunskill.
Yeah.
And so he's somebody that you're casual. I only, watch the games and maybe read an article, on ESPN once or two a week. Fan don't know, but us real fans who, cover the team or deep dive into the team, he's,
We
I
know.
might get a Brunskill jersey for all honesty. He's definitely the I don't want to say real fans, but the diehard fan. He is our unsung hero. Now, moving on to me, honestly, who I will not say is obviously clearly not the most talented offensive line we have, but to me is my favorite starter on the offensive line, and that's Laken Tomlinson. To me,
Yep.
Laken
I love me
Tomlinson
some
is
Laken Tomlinson.
so underrated. I mean, all the man has done since he's been here is play every snap. I literally think that he was hurt for the last game of 2017. And then I believe the only other snap that he's missed as a Niner was a snap that he had to put on his shoe. I believe his shoe
Yeah,
came
wasn't
off.
like
And he had
untied
to
or
come out
something
for a
like that. It
snap.
came off or something.
Yeah, it was something
Yeah,
crazy
something weird
like
like
that. But he said he's literally only missed one game in his career, and he was traded for a fifth-round pick in 2019. I would have to do more research into this, but I would say it's probably, I would dare say that might be the best trade of the Linehan era. When you look at
Arguably, it is.
quality of player, the amount of actual playing time that we've actually got from him, which to me disqualifies D Ford. Of course, if you would have told the Niners, hey, you give us a second round pick and you'll be in the Super Bowl in 2019. Look, you're going to trade that second round pick all day, every day. Nobody's going to
Yeah.
say that you're not going to trade that second round pick. But as far
Yeah.
as what was the better trade, no, I'm sorry. Laken Tomlinson was the better trade. And to me,
Yeah.
I think that everybody's looking at Jalen Moore, and we'll get into him, of course, but everybody's looking at Jalen Moore like, he could walk in, he could take Laken Tomlinson's pace, and he might even
Nope.
push Tomlinson for this year. If knock on wood, pray to God, do whatever you have to do. If Laken Tomlinson misses this time this year, I think the line will suffer greatly. Now, I
Yeah.
don't believe that it will suffer as bad because, of course, who we have next to him at left tackle, who's the let's be real, one of the most
And
talented
center.
offensive linemen in the league, and center,
And center. Yeah.
But I mean, when he's playing to the probably top three, maybe top two offensive tackle in the league, yeah, that you could plug in almost anybody, and they're gonna get a capable starter out of them because they're playing next to
Yeah.
Trent Williams and Alex Mack. But I do believe that Laken Tomlinson is the unsung hero of the Niners offensive line. And I would honestly look and say, Laken, if there was any offensive lineman that I'd get a jersey of right now, if somebody came to me and said, hey, I'll give you an offensive lineman jersey right now, I would get Laken Tomlinson over Trent Williams. I honestly would. I think that when the number one complaint that we've had of this team has been injuries, here we have a man that's literally missed one game and plus one snap his whole Niner career. And yeah, he's not the number one guard in the NFL or anything like that. But the same thing we said about, Alex Mack is, hey, look, I'll take the 10th rated guard in the NFL that's going to be there snap after snap over the number one guard that's only going to be there a handful of snaps.
Yep.
And so I definitely think that I do believe with him pushing his age 31 season, I do believe this is his last Niner contract. I don't know if I would give him a huge contract. We'll see how Jalen Moore and Brunskill and excuse me. We'll see how the other guards that we have on the roster are developing, towards the end of the season. So I might think that this might be his last contract or the last year with the Niners. But definitely love me some Lakeland Tomlinson. Jason, anything you got to add on Lakeland Tomlinson?
Just like you, I love Lakin Tomlinson. Lakin Tomlinson is even probably more than what you get out of Brunskill. He is that lunch pail guy. You don't hear nothing of him. You know, you never hear anything of him in the news at all. But you know what? When you show up, he is there every week. He's actually, when I was looking into him earlier in the week, he's actually the 8th rated guard in the NFL, which I didn't.
See?
I figured he was more around like 15, 16. I didn't realize he was graded out on PFF at number 8. You know, I was like, damn. So he's actually a lot better than what I actually realized until I dug into it. So, you know, like you said, with Brunskill and him, you want guys like that on your team because they're just going to show up. They're not going to do anything fancy, this or that. But like I said, they're going to be there for years. You don't have to worry about them. You don't even notice anything's wrong until they're not there, kind of thing. Like I said, if Tomlinson wasn't in the lineup, you'd be like, oh, okay, there's the problem. You know, even though he is playing next to Trent Williams, he still, like you said, he shows up every week. And I know that eventually, where Aaron Banks is obviously going to push Brunskill to be the starter this year, Jalen Moore is not that quite level as of yet.
No.
Which is why I'm thinking, you know, like we were saying, if we get him Tomlinson on like maybe another short 2-3 year contract, you know, because Moore is not going to be ready to take that spot for a couple of years. He still needs a little bit of development overall in his game, but he's got the ceiling to where, you know, like you said, Lakeland's going to be 33 at the end of this contract. That's about the time. Do we push it past that? You know, so that's about the time. Again, good drafting. You know, they were thinking ahead. You know, Lakeland's got some time left to him. Let's get somebody who's a little raw, needs a little work. You know, we'll just sit him on the squad. You know, let him slowly work his way in, and then, like you said, we move on from Tomlinson, and we've got that smooth transition, you know, 2-3 years to Moore.
Yeah, no, I completely, totally agree with you. So it's definitely, you know, I think that, like we said, knock on wood and, you know, pray to God and all that, but I think that we would definitely notice if Laken Tomlinson wasn't in the lineup. Now going on to Tom Compton. Played in 7 games, 3 starts last year. I see, honestly, I think he's going to be on the outside of the roster looking in. I mean, I could see him making the team, and I would like him to be on the team just for our veteran presence. But honestly, I don't think with the team drafting Jalen Moore and Aaron Banks and having, you know, Daniel Brunskill, unless you're going to slide Jalen Moore to the practice squad, I honestly just don't see us having room for Tom Compton on the roster. Colton McKivitz, I would think the same thing. I would think that him, I would see Colton McKivitz and Jalen Moore fighting for a roster spot. I would honestly see that, and whatever one doesn't make it, I could see sliding to the practice squad maybe. Let's see, Jalen Moore.
I would think Colton makes it over
about him.
Compton.
No, I don't. You really don't?
No, I'm saying I would take Colton over Compton.
Oh yeah. I would too. You're gonna have that draft pedigree, and
exactly.
Let's be real. Honestly, if Tom Compton's needed, I believe that you'll be able to pick him up off the street. Oh, yeah. Let's be real. I don't see tons of teams pounding down the door giving Tom Compton, you know, starting job opportunities.
No.
And so,
I mean, I would easily take Colton over him, no problem.
And this is where I get a little bit different. We got Elijah Williams, 1-year pro. He's not going to make the roster. Daniel Burdell, Jake Burdell, Dakota Shepley, same thing. Coben Kasuafis. I don't even know how to say that name. Don't think that he's going to get in. We'll go ahead and get into Mike McGlinchey and Trent Williams here lastly. But 2 players that I think that we talked about in the pre-show meeting. Sean Coleman is a player that we've traded a 7th-round pick for him in 2019, and he was inactive in 2018, got hurt in
Mhm.
2019, and opted out in 2020. He's kind of always been this player that we've heard as, oh, he's going to come in and bring the swing tackle. He's going to come in and be a great swing tackle. And I believe I want to say it was the 2019 season. It was the first snap of the 2019 season that he went down with the ankle injury and missed the year. I want to say that was Sean Coleman that happened to. And so he's somebody that I've been really interested in seeing and saying, hey, that, especially with Daniel, with Justice School, tearing his ACL. He's somebody who if I had to put my money down at swing tackle right now, I would say it was him. But he's somebody definitely curious. He's definitely somebody that I'm curious to see in training camp. And then one last player before we get in these last two is Alfredo Gutierrez. He is from Mexico. He is a part of the NFL International Player Pathway Program, which he will be on the roster until the end of training camp, where he is eligible for an international player practice squad exemption, granting the 49ers an extra practice squad member that is ineligible to be active during the 2021 season. We were talking about he's 6'9", like 314 pounds.
346.9. He is huge.
Oh yeah. He's a huge dude and somebody that I'm saying definitely chill on the practice squad for this next year. And I'm chomping at the bit to see what he looks like. Yeah, exactly. And I'm chomping at the bit to see what we can get out of him come 2022. And can he push Mike McGlinchey for a job in 2022?
No, he's not.
I don't think that he is, but you never know. But he's definitely somebody that I'm happy is on the roster. And at worst, if we get a swing tackle, I'm all for turning him into a swing tackle.
What I liked a lot about him was what he said is that he realizes he's coming in and he's not going to be a starter, but what his job is right now is to push the starters to make that better. I'm like, that right there, that's the kind of statement you want. I loved it when I saw him say that. I'm like, well, I don't know a whole lot about you, but that attitude right there is everything that I want to see out of somebody who knows. He's like, look, I know I'm not ready, but I just got to bust my ass to make these guys look better, get them ready to make the team better. Like I said, I loved it when he said that at his conference.
Yeah, exactly. And to me, it's okay. Offensive line coaches, obviously we all know about Bob McKittrick, famous 49er offensive line coach, was the one that developed Jesse Sapolo, Harris Barton. I mean, the list goes on and on and on of that. Anybody who, was a Niner offensive lineman, during the dynasty swore by Bob McKittrick. And so to me, this is, let's see what this is the type of player that I'm pointing at the coaching staff and I'm saying, okay, how good is our coaching staff at developing players? Because if we got a coaching staff that's good at developing players, then yeah, you know what? We might be able to develop him into a star. It's the right type of attitude. He's got the physical, stature and ability. He definitely won the genetic lottery. And so let's see. I'm a firm believer of if you work hard at something, you generally get better. You don't get worse.
Mm-hmm.
And so having faith in our offensive line coach and a kid with the right type of attitude that's going to put forth the effort and the work in the offseason, we might get ourselves a diamond in the rough player. I remember we were just talking about earlier a certain player that we picked up from the AFF that nobody thought anything of. And now we're talking about he might be one of the best 6'9" offensive linemen in Daniel Brunskill. And so I'm not saying that that's what, Alfredo is going to be, but, backups are important too. And so not everybody has to be Trent Williams, all-pro, best left tackle in the league. Sometimes, you know what? It's okay to be the 7th best, player on the offensive line. And sometimes, you know what? That 7th player on the offensive line plays just an important role as the starter.
Yeah.
I believe it was Super Bowl 23. I want to say it was Steve Wallace that went down. Somebody on the line on the offensive line went down in Super Bowl 23, and somebody had to step up right then and right there. And having that capable backup with the ability to play at the level of a starter in the Super Bowl, which Cincinnati's D line wasn't no joke back then. That's just as important. And so if that's what Alfredo could turn into be, then hey, and we didn't waste any draft capital on him or anything. Man, that's a coach's fantasy.
Kind of forced on the team because I guess the teams have no
Yeah.
choice. It's basically like, here, take him, kind of thing to promote the international game. But
awesome.
And you know, you're talking about getting down to your seventh tackle. Look at the Chiefs last year in the Super Bowl. Both starting tackles, were gone. And look what happened to Mahomes. He couldn't do nothing all game long because, they were down to their seventh offensive lineman.
Yeah, exactly. And you tell me that Kansas City wouldn't kill to have a player like Daniel Brunskill to bring in over the bench.
Exactly.
You can't tell me that the Chiefs would have killed to been able to bring in Daniel Brunskill or Alfredo if he develops into a good player. So getting on to Mike McGlinchey and Trent Williams. Look, what can we say about Trent Williams? I will officially say this. I wasn't able to say this. I didn't quite feel ready to say this last year, but the Niners upgraded from Joe Staley. And I want to make this very clear as somebody whose profile picture on Facebook was the 74 Joe Staley tribute, picture for the whole last year up until here. I want to say actually a couple of days ago, I finally changed it.
It was only like a week ago you changed it.
Yeah. So I believe in my heart there will be nothing that Trent Williams can do that will make him above Joe Staley in Niner history. I think that Joe Staley is pretty secure as our best tackle in team history as far as his whole career, which, by the way, was 13 years all with the Niners. I'm sorry, there's nothing that Trent Williams, even if he fulfills his contract and plays 7 years with the team, there's nothing he can do in those, barring getting 6 championships in a row. I don't think there's nothing that Trent Williams can do to surpass Joe Staley as the best team tackle in team history. But as far as talent on the field, yeah, the Niners upgraded from Joe Staley. And I never thought I would say that. I was team Joe Show all the way. I mean, I want to get his jersey, all that. Yes. But Trent Williams.
You didn't want to believe me how good Trent Williams was.
Trent Williams is an upgrade over Joe Staley. I will happily admit that I am wrong. I knew that he was going to be good. And look, I knew that if you were going to transition on from Joe Staley, there was no other player that you would rather transition to than Trent Williams. What I didn't anticipate is Trent Williams decapitating Arizona Cardinal linebackers. I never seen an offensive lineman move like that in my life. I mean, that should be illegal.
Have you seen his workout videos?
Oh man, I mean the man he's truly a silverback
moving
gorilla.
That fast. Yeah, there's a reason why he calls himself the silverback. I mean, it's just like a man gorilla. That size should not be doing the athletic things that he can do. I mean, he does like these huge box jumps. I'm just like, dude, you're like 350, jumping like 6 feet in the air, man. You're like Spider-Man at that size. It's insane how much of a badass he is.
And trust me, I think that there was no secret why the number one priority this offseason was signing Trent Williams, especially the Niners knowing what they were going to do as far as trading up the 3 to take Trey Lance. And so to me, it was very clear this offseason, hey, Trent, we're going to get you Trey Lance. You see that big, 300 gorilla right there? Yeah, you follow him. That will be your personal bodyguard. And so, look, there's nothing you can say. Trent Williams will be worth every single penny. Look, will Trent Williams be worth the money come year 6, year 5 of his contract? I would, if I had to put my life savings on it, I would say no. But but if you tell me that's the cost of doing business and getting him for the 3-4 years that he'll be worth the money, I'm okay with that.
I'm okay with
Especially
that.
when let's
Yeah.
be real. Let's be real. It's 2 3 year contracts, and
Yeah.
so I'm willing to take on year 4 and 5 to get the year 1, 2, and 3 of Trent Williams. That's just a chance I'm willing to take to say that look, the Niners have probably one of the most important positions. Look, to me, the three most important positions on offense are quarterback, center, and tackle. Quarterback and centers to me are very simple. They're the only two positions on the football field that touch the ball every single play. Center is look, every single play starts with the center quarterback exchange. And so go ask the New York Giants about a playoff game in 2003 if a long snapper to quarterback or holder isn't an important sequence because last time I checked, it cost them a playoff game against the Niners. That exchange, it seems so simple, literally cost them a playoff game.
Look at what happened to the Broncos when they started the Super Bowl off. The very first play with the ball going over Manning's head. So I mean that started the Seahawks running them over literally from the very first play. So it starts right there.
Exactly. And so to me, you say, okay, I want my number 3 overall pick quarterback. I want him, receiving the ball and calling the line protections. I want one of the best centers in the NFL. And protecting his blind side, I want the best left tackle in football.
Yeah, I want someone to protect.
And so I could not see any other way that the Niners could afford. Sure, could we have gone after Lindsey? Of course, Trent Williams and Lindsey, but that wasn't going to happen financially. Let's be real.
Yeah.
So I'm perfect. I don't see any way the Niners could have got better than Alex Mack and Trent Williams. And now going on to Mike McGlinchey, to me, and we were talking about here in the post show or the pre-show meeting, Mike McGlinchey, to me, I think the team's not so ready to get rid of him as many of us are. I think that they're not ready to give him big dollars. I don't think he's signing a Trent Williams contract. Hell, I don't even think he's going to be a top 5 paid right tackle. If somebody wants to give Mike McGlinchey in 2023 offseason, in free agency, they want to give Mike McGlinchey a top 5 tackle deal, then I tip my caps to Mike and I say, good luck, buddy. Enjoy your career wherever you're at. I'm not paying Mike McGlinchey top 5 tackle money. But I think what people need to understand is the Niners are a run team first. And like you said, Jason, there was only one player that was ranked better as a run blocker in the NFL at tackle, and that was Trent Williams. And so if you say we're a run-first team and I can have the number 1 and number 2 in an outside zone scheme, the number 1, number 2 running tackles in football, I mean, and fine, we Mike McGlinchey's what? Top 20 in pass protection. I'm okay if we have a running quarterback that can run from the pressure, as long as he's not getting pressure from the blind side, which we believe that he won't, and he can see the pressure coming from his right side, and Trey Lance has the ability to extend the play and run away from pressure.
Yep.
I think the Niners are okay with that. I think the Niners are saying, hey, we'll take that, considering you can't pay we cannot pay 2 tackles top tackle money. You just can't do that. And so we could get a lot worse than Mike McGlinchey. And so he was far too skinny last year. I think that he clearly seems thicker this year. And you know what? I think the one thing that is underestimated against Michael McGlinchey, except for the 4 games he missed in 2012, he's out there. Mike McGlinchey doesn't miss snaps. And so fine, you might get that rep that he wishes he could have back every now and then. But you know what? I'll take that. I mean, I'll ask you this, and go ahead and feel free to put it in the comments. But who is your reasonable, as in somebody we can draft or somebody we could afford to pay, that's your replacement for Mike McGlinchey right now? We weren't going to move up this year and get the player from Oregon. I'm blanking on his name right now. So when do you see the Niners being able to be in the top 10 to select a tackle? Because let's be real, you're not getting many franchise right tackles outside of the top 10. I think Joe Staley's an albatross. Joe Staley's a diamond in the rough. You're not getting, many tackles at the end of the first round that are going to play for 13 years. So that's my thing about Mike McGlinchey. It's fine. You can upgrade it from him. I'm not saying that you can't, but who are you going to get to upgrade? Sure, yeah, we'd love to have, whatever enter player X in here, but is player X going to – yeah, I'd love for Aaron Rodgers to be taken center this year for the Niners, but that's not happening. I'd love to bring back Patrick Willis in his prime to play next to Fred Warner, but that's not happening. So who is a realistic option besides Mike McGlinchey? I don't see any. And so, yeah, I think that he will never be a top 10 pass protector, but that's okay if you're a football team that wants to run the ball. Jason, your thoughts on Mike? Because I know you had some good points in our pre-show meeting.
Well, I mean, you hit a lot of them. Like I said, other than the fact that like I said, he's bad in pass protection. We get that,
yeah.
And we've seen some of the guys that go up against him. But to be fair, he's also going against. They know they're not putting their number one guy up against Trent because that's just the Great Wall of China. You're not getting past him. So they always put their number one defensive ends are going up against McGlinchey. He's way too high when he moves for his form in general. But, between, Brunskill and whoever was playing center last year, the revolving door of guards that he had to play through last year, I'm wondering if at times he wasn't just overwhelmed because he's so worried about his side of the line that, he's just overthinking everything. So, like I said, whether it's Aaron Banks or Brunskill, who's lining up next to him, he's got to have more trust in them than anybody from last year. And then you have Alex calling protections from the center position. I honestly think he gets back to being a top tier overall tackle. I think his pass protection is going to improve. I'd say his run blocking is going to improve, but how much better can he get? I mean, he is a huge mauler when it comes to moving people. So it's like his only downside is the pass blocking. So let's see what happens when he has somebody next to him that is solid instead of learning the position on the fly. And we'll just see how that goes. Like I said, I want to see him put on some weight because he was looking, pretty bad at times. It was like,
yes.
What are you, a tight end or are you a tackle? I don't know, because you're like, have you seen the picture where it's him, Staley, and Banks standing side by side with each other?
Yes.
It's like at that I'm like, I mean, I knew Banks was big, and that kid is big in general, but looking at him compared to what McGlinchey looks like, it's like I said, it almost looks like he plays tight end rather than tackle. So, but
and I'm glad that you brought up Joe. And I think sometimes, we like as fans, sometimes we sit there and say, you're a professional and do your job and all that, but let's not, maybe you have a mentor at your job. Let's be real. Mike McGlinchey had talked about how Joe Staley essentially was his hero. And he looked up and he modeled his game off of Joe Staley. And, it was no secret how for until we got Trent Williams, there were a lot of people who believed that like Mike McGlinchey was being, groomed to be the heir apparent to Joe Staley.
Yep.
He was going to be until we traded for Trent Williams. He was going to be the next, move to left tackle. And so all of a sudden you lose Joe Staley. You lose your mentor, you're the player you modeled your game off after and everything. And he had never really played without him.
Yeah.
And I think that, look, I understand it's an excuse, and I'm not saying that, hey, you're paid millions of dollars, suck it up. Okay, fine. But I'm not going to ignore it and act like it's, I'm not going to act like it didn't have an effect. And that, you know what? I think what happens is a lot of people say Mike McGlinchey can get in his own head. And so I think with what missing Joe Staley was the biggest issue is preventing it from snowballing. I believe that if Joe Staley was there, he would have been able to prevent one snap turning into a bad snap that all of a sudden turns into a bad game. It turns into 2 bad games. It turns into 3 bad I believe that if Joe Staley was there, Joe Staley would have been able to nip it in the bud and
He
say,
didn't
"Hey,
have his rock.
Mike, you're exactly." And football players are so routine based, and maybe not as much as hockey and baseball and sports that are other, more everyday, more everyday sports, but something as simple as you know them talking about how it was McGlinchey and Joe Staley that drove up to the game every day. And
Yeah.
your little pep talks. We all know the famous stories about George Kittle getting a letter from his dad before every game. And all of a sudden, let's imagine that Kittle doesn't get that letter from his dad. Sure, is that the worst excuse to use if, he goes out and has the worst game of his career because he didn't get a letter from his dad? Sure, I would hope that George Kittle would still be able to do George Kittle things and Kittle people all over the field. Without his letters from his dad, but to think that it wouldn't throw off his game a little bit, no, of course it's going to throw off his game from a little bit. And if I can't do my own routines before the game, I have my own game day rituals and routines, and my own superstitions that I have before the game, and if I don't do those, it kind of throws me off a little bit. I like to have my moments and my prep up time and my hype up time and things like that. And you know what? There have been times that I've woken up, just in enough time to hurry up and get to the stadium. And you know what? Maybe I'm not as ready to go by the time kickoff comes. Sure, I'd still give it my best effort, but no, it's not my best because I didn't take that extra shot or wasn't able to smoke my pregame blunt or whatever like that. I'm pretty sure we all have our tradition and our rituals. Jerry, our Dion, was famous for laying out his whole jersey before the game. Sure, was Dion still going to be Dion? Yeah, was Dion still going to be Deion Sanders? Of course. But you know what? Was he going to be, it's professional athletes, we can't possibly get into their mindset because most of us have never even came close to being professional athletes and understand the routine and the psychological mental aspects of the game. And so if you had to tell me right now who I would put my most improved comeback player of the year, whatever you want to say, player. If I had to put money down on it right now, I would say it would be Mike McGlinchey. And I don't, like I said, I don't expect him to turn into the. Yes, I would too. I would say that the biggest jump has to come from Javon Kinlaw. I would say the biggest turnaround has to come from Mike McGlinchey. Mike McGlinchey and Jimmy Garoppolo. And I would say with Jimmy Garoppolo, it would strictly just be health by playing, until basically playing every game until Trey Lance is ready, whether that be 2022 or after the bye week or whatever. But, but I would say the biggest turnarounds have to be Mike McGlinchey and Jimmy Garoppolo. If we want to take this season. It's not that
far of a turnaround. It's more of a pivot.
No, it's not. Yeah.
He's not as bad as everybody wants to.
If Mike McGlinchey can give us a 5 to 10% improvement over last year, I think that's enough. I think that's enough, and I'm comfortable giving a top 10, top 15 right tackle money.
Salary?
If Mike McGlinchey can, salary. If you can tell me Mike McGlinchey can improve 5 to 10% and stay at that level, I'm comfortable giving him a second contract. And just saying, hey,
the line overall
was
ranked what? As much as we bitched about the line and this and that, all of last season, it was 9th.
It was definitely
ninth in the league. Yeah, it was not. It was. I know for a fact it was 9. So think about that. As much as we bitch about how many sacks did he give up, the center of the line was horrible. Everything. They were still a top 10 line. It's just like imagine being someone who 16, 17, 20. And yet, look at the amount of complaining and bitching and moaning that we spent on a top 10 line. It still existed with everything that happened.
Look, the only starter that wasn't graded a top 10, grade in PFF last year was Daniel
Brunskill. Yeah.
The other 4 of our starters were ranked top 10 players in PFF last year. And so I think that in a team that's going to have to pay Nick Bosa, that's going to have to pay, Brandon Ayuk, that are that is paying George Kittle, that will have to pay Fred Warner, that will have to, obviously not number one linebacker money, but will probably have to pay Dre Greenlaw. I would think that Dre Greenlaw would get, maybe a 2-3 year deal. You can't have the best at every position. And so overall, I think my last closing thought on the O-line is I'm okay with having the 9th rated offensive line in the league. I think if we can have from the 6th to 10th rated offensive line in the league, I think that's fine. I think you can win a championship with that. Especially if you tell me it's the number 1, number 2 run graded.
Rushing? If it's number 1, number 2 rushing, I'm good.
Yeah. Then we're winning the Super Bowl because, I'm sorry, running the football. I believe that if we run the football like we did throughout the playoffs, we blow the Chiefs out. I think that Super Bowl is not even close. And so I think I'm thinking big things from Mike McGlinchey. Jason, last thoughts on the O-line before we go ahead and wind this thing down?
It's definitely better than it was
Yes.
last year, in my opinion. And that's saying a lot because, again, like I just said, as much as we have harped on the offensive line, it actually wasn't that bad. There was times where the offensive line completely dominated. It just happens to be that when they gave up bad plays, they gave up bad plays. But there was times, look at the Rams.
Yeah.
We completely dominated the Rams with Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald dominates everybody. We had backups dominating Aaron Donald. So, and that's, with the scheme that we run, obviously we can scheme against Aaron Donald. Now you're telling me we're going to get better offensive linemen and hopefully healthier offensive linemen with the same scheme that's already dominating stuff like that. I'm actually very excited for this offensive line because I honestly think it's going to be a top 5 overall line with the way things are rolling right now.
I can see that.
Like I said, you shore up that right side next to McGlinchey with someone he can trust and doesn't have to worry about constantly. We obviously got better on the with center. And Tomlinson and Williams are going to hold down the left side. So like I said, I'm looking for an overall top 5 line in the league. Hopefully number 1 in rushing. I want to see top 3 in rushing, but definitely I think you can be top 5 overall.
Yeah. And you know what I think that will also help the offensive line is that what's not spoken enough is how about a healthy Jimmy Garoppolo or a healthy Jimmy Garoppolo / a starting quarterback, and how about you have a Raheem Mostert not bringing in players from off the street. So I think that maybe having a better quarterback situation and a better running back situation than we did last year. I think that would help. I don't think the O-line was better, as good.
Just stable.
Yeah. I don't think that the O-line was as good as we saw in 2019. I think that had a lot with having Raheem Mostert, Matt Breida, and Tevin Coleman, and healthy Jimmy Garoppolo for 16 games. But I don't think that the offensive line was as bad as we played last year. So I think that when you upgrade the overall, is that you say if you say, hey, look, what would be the difference between 2019 Mike McGlinchey and 2020 McGlinchey? Maybe getting the ball out a second to a half second out early. So maybe that Jimmy Garoppolo, who we all know has a fast release, that's definitely one of Jimmy's strengths is his release. So if you say, hey, Jimmy can get that ball out that half second to second earlier than Nick Mullins or C.J. Beathard, and that might be the difference between maybe McGlinchey giving up a sack versus a pressure. Yep. So maybe that Jimmy getting that ball that half second or a second out faster could be the difference, and that all of a sudden makes Mike McGlinchey look a little bit better. Maybe Raheem taking, a run 80 yards to the house. All of a sudden, maybe that offensive line doesn't look that bad. So I think that overall, I'm not going to say the Niners are going to win the Super Bowl because of our offensive line. But I would say that it's not going to be in spite of it.
You know who we haven't talked about when it comes to the offensive line? It's Kittle. A healthy Kittle who's going to be there. Think about all the things he does blocking-wise that has helped that was missing. So, as good as the line was and how much time was missed with that, now we get back a healthy Kittle.
Yeah.
on top of
Well, 'cause
everything that we just talked about, and it just gets better. So
I,
it looks good.
let's be real. George Kittle's a tackle who goes out on
Catches the
passing
ball.
routes. Yeah, he's a tackle who passes the ball or catches the ball.
Yeah.
Let's be real. Blocks like a tackle, and so I think that's an excellent point. Is that, you know what, I would have to give it to Trent Williams as the better blocker, but I would pay money to see a blocking competition between him and Kittle. I would tell you that.
I
would
don't.
definitely-
You know what? You
I
push
would
the
definitely
shove. I'm
pay money
taking
for
Trent.
that.
Sorry, I'm taking Trent.
Yeah, I'm taking Trent, but I would pay money to see that competition. And so
Kittle would make it
let's
interesting.
put it
Kittle would
this way.
definitely make it interesting.
Yeah. And so you're missing eight to 10 games from our second best blocking player
Yeah.
on our team. I think that's going to help too. Let's look. We have talked about this before, and we'll talk about it more as we get two tight ends. But let's be real. George Kittle's going to always miss games simply by the style of football he plays, and that's just something that you and I have talked about how we're willing to accept. If we love, look, we're check it out when it comes out, but we're making a Kittle T-shirt for FFBS, and so we love that style of play. I love George Kittle banging his head into walls before every game. I love George Kittle dragging players on his back and everything. So I'm okay with George Kittle missing a couple games a year, but I think having him for majority of the season will also definitely help. Before we get out of here, Jason, please tell everybody how they can subscribe to us on Twitch.
So if you have an Amazon Prime that you use to order everything else in the world with from your door, especially during COVID and all that quarantine, go ahead and use it to subscribe to the Twitch channel for free. All you have to do is connect the two of them. Again, you don't have to pay anything extra or do anything like that. It's part of their Prime Gaming, which is hooked to their overall Amazon Prime. So go ahead and go ahead and make it a Twitch and a Prime account if you don't have one. It's quick and easy. When you go hit subscribe, it'll come down and it'll offer you tier 1, 2, or 3. If you feel like paying for one of them, great. Thank you very much. But go ahead and use that free one on there. It's an option down there as well. So like I said, remember, Amazon Prime, hook it to Twitch, sub for free.
There you go. And make sure you do it every single month too, because that is the one thing you have to renew it after every month. All right, so before we get out of here, I would like to remind everybody to, if you're listening to us on YouTube, go ahead and hit that subscribe button along with that bell notification so you can be notified every time we upload a video. If you're listening to us as a podcast, please rate, review, and subscribe. You can find out everywhere you can listen to us as a podcast at NinerFaithfulRadio.com/subscribe. Go to twitch.tv/NinerFaithfulRadio to join us for every live stream of all our shows. For the Faithful by the Faithful pre-launch sales coming July 30th. Save 20% off of all our designs. Go to NinerFaithfulRadio.com/shop for more details. With everything opening up, we'd like to remind everybody to go to SeatGiant.com and use the promo code NinerFaithfulRadio to save on all your concert, theater, and sporting event tickets. That website again is SeatGiant.com and the promo code NinerFaithfulRadio. Get your officially licensed Niner gear by using our affiliate link in the description. It doesn't cost you any more and really helps out this show. Go to NinerFaithfulRadio.com to check out all our interviews, blogs, and previous episodes from all our shows. Follow us on social media on Facebook and Instagram at NinerFaithfulRadio and at Twitter at NinerFaithfulR. Jason does an excellent job managing all our social media accounts. Also, please stay tuned because we're going to go ahead and run and raid and do all that stuff. Jason's going to go ahead and do that. But
I'll do that.
For Jason, for Super Duper Moderator Kim, Jimmy, Nate, Jason, Kim, and Dylan and myself, we'd like to thank y'all for tuning into this week's episode. Faith, love, and happiness. Go Niners.